Members of the OG Army, get those wallets unfolded. Coming up next on the OtherGround live stage, prepare for an eargasm by Passive J and Big Dalton. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is normally when you would hear Passive J say something about thank you for joining the OtherGround live. However, it seems PodBean is down for a lot of people, and he happens to be one of those. So for the people that have made the time to join, I am Big Dalton. Passive J is not here, but this is still an episode of the OtherGround Live. So, people of the OG Army, looks like we have a couple people that have found their way in. Are we audible? Is this happening? Or is this the apocalypse? So sounds like for Huggy is VPN, Discord, email, all down. It must be the apocalypse. And this must be much like the OG where I cannot be frozen for downvotes. I am here. I am on PodBean. I am the Lord and Savior. Give me 1 second. Typing something to Jay right now. But he has no idea what's going on. You guys are here just fine. So apparently this is only affecting some people. But it seems like, yeah, PodBean is down. That's obviously not one of the bigger things. It sounds like Discord is down, which is a big nerd thing. So let's recap the week, shall we? So we started out with Twitter being hacked to all hell. Pretty much all of the celebrities out there having their accounts taken over via the admin panel, and some weirdo out there getting, you know, $10,000, $20,000 worth of Bitcoin. And now Cloudflare is down. So this is interesting that some of you guys are back up and running. Looks like we have a few people here. And hopefully we get Jay at some point. But I have no clue. Interestingly enough, so obviously for anybody that's just listening to this, we are from a site called mixedmartialarts.com. I did notice that it was down at one point. However, to the guys in the chat, is it up now? It's working fine for me. So again, I may just be in some weird part of the world here. So sounds like for Team Evil, it is working fine. For Shih Tzu, everything is gone. So we're going to have an interesting show here. But if anybody does decide to call in, we will take calls. I was smart enough to go in on Chrome this time, so call-ins actually do work. But past that, yeah, shit is going kind of crazy. May actually get us up on YouTube. Anybody that was on YouTube, thank you for bearing with us. We had some technical issues here with Cloudflare, which apparently PodBean is hosted on. So some of us are here, some of us are not. Passive J is broken down somewhere in Detroit. Hopefully he will be joining us at some point. And he actually just sent a screenshot, so it looks like a lot of the people that normally would either dial in or pull us up on the PodBean app. Apparently the app doesn't even work for half the people. So we are the lucky few. We are the Walking Dead. Who is who? Which one of you bastards are Carol? I'm gonna go with the Juicer. Anyhow, while we get these things squared away, let's go ahead and cover a couple things we would normally cover. So this, you can consider your daily news update while we get minute by minute updates of the Cloudflare takeover. Nice piece of news from my home state. So Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa has come out and said that she is overruling all the school districts in the state, and kids must go back to schools in the classroom for at least 50% of the week as we come into school time here. So earlier on this month, they had kind of gone district by district, and some are recommending things like 1 day in the classroom, everything else virtual. Some other that say all virtual, all of the other COVID stuff. But it seems, yeah, the genius governor is just going to say, fuck that. Kids are going back to class, and there will be no masks. I can tell you, I'm glad I moved. In other news, we have... What do we have? Jesus Christ. So in the Nice Files, I'm not sure if anybody has seen this, but there is a former Miss Kentucky that is going to prison for sending a 15-year-old student naked pictures. So apparently this ex-Miss Kentucky was a school teacher, doesn't even say where. Looks like in West Virginia. And her great excuse to this entire thing was that she accidentally sent a lewd, not even a nude photo, to this teenager by mistake that was meant for her husband, and that the teenager blackmailed her with it into sending him more. And it looks like the kid's parents found everything on his phone and obviously turned her in. I think where I'm calling bullshit of this entire thing is, why does she have a 15-year-old's like number or Snapchat or whatever else? It seems kind of like a deliberate thing. But second of all, and I know this is the thing that everybody like freaks out about, how, you know, it's sexist or it's whatever, but goddamn, if I was 15 years old and my teacher was an ex-miss whatever the state, and I was getting to see naked pictures of her, goddamn, I would be guarding that phone with my life. Across the world, looks like we also have more things coming out of Russia. So we had been talking a little bit about the opposition party in Russia. It's called, well, it's not even really an opposition party, it's an opposition business. There is the Office of the Foundation for Fighting Corruption that has just been raided by Moscow police, apparently for defamation. So in Russia, apparently you can't criticize Putin at all. And yeah, these guys are going to jail and probably will never be seen again. Note again, never go to Russia. Back to the Kentucky thing. How many of you guys in chat remember any of your teachers that would have been even remotely hot enough for you to have even wanted to see naked? Did any of you guys have that? I seem to remember all of my teachers growing up were like 70 years old. I see a nope, none, no. I see one, absolutely. So for the one, how old was she? Was this like a teacher's assistant, like straight out of college, or what's the deal? 25 years old. Full teacher. What subject? Did he have facial hair? And I can't even say it. Geometry and trig. There is no way you're telling me there's a 25-year-old hot teacher teaching math. Like, that is absolutely a nerd position. So yes, yeah, I definitely have not seen Iranian teachers. Apparently they all look like nuns, which I guess could make sense. I don't know how close that is tied to religion over there. I will take your word for it. So if you have experience with Iran, we had a story. It was either earlier this week or last week. There was a guy being executed for drinking beer. Like, is that as crazy as it sounds to us? Like, does it sound as crazy in Iran? I'm curious. And while we wait for that, let's see what else we have around here. So this is kind of an interesting story from today. There was a couple in Texas, and this actually was a relatively... Yes, it's as crazy as you think. Well, that sucks. I can definitely add Iran to the list that we have kind of going around as places that we never really want to go visit. I think it's probably North Korea number 1. Number 2 is Russia. And then somewhere probably between 3 and 5 would be Iran. Oh, so you actually live in Iran. So how do you mean prisoners there? Is it just that the government is that oppressive, or what is it? Because I think, and a lot of us have spoke about this before, it seems like the Iranian people themselves are always like relatively like progressive thinking people, like really nice people. The people I've met, and a lot of this has been through like my years in wrestling. Iran always has a great wrestling team. I'd see some former people that, you know, used to wrestle for the national team or thing like that, but it always seemed like everybody was also always like super approachable, super nice. Didn't sound anything like Iran, the country. Huggy, an Iranian Canadian veterinarian. Now you make me sad that Jay is not here. Having him try to say that like 3 times fast would have been probably one of the biggest train wrecks I've ever seen, even worse than this show. But goddamn. And how was the nightmare? Like, was it she was just crazy, or like what was going on there? Because we have time to fill, and I'm just not going to talk about news stories all day because goddamn, I can't do that. Crazy uppity bitch. So give us a story. How uppity? Did she think she was just better than everyone? She was a veterinarian. She was an animal doctor. And back to, yes, Iranians are amazing people, but the government are killers. Yeah, that's what it sounds like, which is super, super unfortunate. I have no idea what it would take for like that government to change outside of just like a crazy revolution, which I don't even know how much that's a thing like in today's society. Obviously, you read about that in the history of the world, but yeah, that's just super unfortunate. You had to drop a few. Oh, so yeah, it was like a. I see what you're saying, Huggy. Yeah, that is absolutely annoying as shit. And the worst thing is when you go and you drop a few $100s on a dinner, generally it's not even that great. Like you have this food that they try to make look good, and it ends up being these tiny little portions on these ridiculous plates. And you leave pissed off because, number one, you didn't eat very much. Number two, it wasn't as amazing as it should be for the money. And number three, you felt like you just got fucked. What else does everybody have out there? The OG Army, the chat box, whatever the hell you guys want to call yourself. Also over on YouTube, what the chat box has to say there, which I'm going to assume is nothing. Generally, those are people listening in on their phone, not necessarily typing much. And IE Task, hello to you as well, sir. And back to our uppity Iranian Canadian veterinarian. Especially when she doesn't shut her whore mouth. All right. Jay's Cloudflare is working, but not PodBean. Is Cloudflare one of his maladies? Is this a new condition? Oh, he posted on Twitter. Yeah, I don't. Out of everything I have up right now, I do not have Twitter up because fuck it. But old Jay, he had quite a consecutive day streak going. I don't know where we are. I think it was like right around 120 days. Apparently on his phone, it's not working either, Juicer. I think he sent me a screenshot of that too. Yeah, so he can pull up PodBean and he'll go to live shows, and there are no live streams apparently, which makes no sense because you all are here. But also, that's not necessarily the most surprising thing, because I trust you guys with technology a little bit more than a 46-year-old secretary from Detroit. And King Craig James, I have no idea what that message is. I'm assuming it's something that looks better on the app than on BlueStacks. So I'll just say welcome and go with it. Oh, just a hello. Well, hello to you as well, sir. You're here on the OtherGround Live, where generally we have two hosts and we would have some sort of banter going on. Instead, you have me, you have the rest of you, and we have, I don't know, probably another 20 minutes or so before I give up on this sumbitch, because yapping to myself, it's just a little odd. So what else is going on in your guys' life? Are we doing a fight companion tomorrow night? I think we've teased that throughout the week. Of course, we know Jay will be going to bed at roughly 7:10 p.m. And I'm thinking, as long as we can get some people that are going to be there that have some interest in it, I will fire that sumbitch up. We will go another 6 hours. We will watch some fights. And hopefully we have all the technical snags fixed from last week, where for the first half you couldn't hear anything in the background. Generally had a little bit of background music, had the fight commentary up just ever so slightly so you can hear what's going on. Be there by 8. So Team Evil is in. i.e. Tass is in. So it sounds like Fight Companion will be a thing. So tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Eastern, we will have our standard show at about 7:06 p.m. Eastern. Jay will quit and go to bed about 7:10 Eastern. We will fire this back up. We will go live with the fights, and we will go for 3-hour segments before PodBean tells us that, hey, you've been online too long. Time for you to log off. Yeah, the matchups aren't super great, but again, this isn't a pay-per-view. So yesterday we did go through our fight picks on the show, and crazily enough, I don't even remember. I don't think any of the fights on the card. Obviously, we know the main event, Benavidez versus Figueiredo. Sounds like both made weight, so that is a plus over their first meeting. Then I think the main event was Kevin Gastelum and Jake Hermanson. Was that it? I'm gonna have to go look at the card. So what do we have tomorrow night? Yes, so main event, obviously, we just kind of went through that, what that was. Co-main event, Jack Hermanson, Kelvin Gastelum. That one should be interesting. So who do you guys got in the co-main event? Jack Hermanson versus Kelvin Gastelum. I think everybody on the phone yesterday was in on Gastelum. What about you guys? Gastelum has a history of underperforming. Good fighter, but doesn't always show up from Tass. I agree. I think if he could actually get enough... Yeah, it's interesting with him. If he could finally get to the point that he could get serious enough for a long enough period of time and actually lose some goddamn weight, I think that guy would be a terror at 170 pounds, which is where he should be from his body type. So I guess we'll see how he shows up. He showed up on weight this morning, which is whatever the hell time in Abu Dhabi. I don't know the translation. I know that they fight at about 6 a.m., so it'd be roughly 12 hours before that. So they probably weighed in at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening over there this morning for us. But I think everybody actually made weight, which is surprising. So maybe these guys are starting to figure out the whole Abu Dhabi thing. I think also, interestingly enough, they have some people that are actually staying over there just in case fights drop out. So apparently from last weekend, Jessica Andrade, who lost to Rose Namajunas, elected just to stay in Abu Dhabi. I don't know if she's staying there in the fighter hotel or if she found other accommodations within Abu Dhabi itself. But apparently her plan is she's just going to stay there in case any women's fight drops out, and then she'll jump right back in. It's interesting strategy. Maybe trying to play that Jorge Masvidal card where a fight drops out, you're able to jump in, make a little bit more money, make a few more fans. We'll see if it works. Speaking of Masvidal, more and more word has come out that really the only fight he is looking for right now is a rematch with Kamaru Usman. What do you guys think? What should be next for Masvidal? Is it Usman? Is it just a big money fight that doesn't necessarily mean anything in the division? So think maybe Diaz, maybe Conor McGregor. Or do you think that he should have to fight one of the contenders at middleweight and then get another shot at the title? So I think if you're talking someone there, are you talking Colby Covington? Are you talking Tyron Woodley? It sounds like if it's not an immediate rematch with Usman and Masvidal. Usman probably has Gilbert Burns next, which makes sense considering he was supposed to fight for the title and came down with a Rona positive. Yes, welter. I was saying middleweight, wasn't I? I am a crackhead. Middleweight is Adesanya. This is what happens when it's one person yapping. They get a fundamental weight division wrong. God damn. Regardless, at welterweight, what do you guys think is next for both Usman and Masvidal? So, Task, we got Usman Burns. Huggy, we got Usman Burns. What do you guys have for Masvidal? Masvidal should be Leon Edwards, yes. That one absolutely makes sense as well. Interestingly enough, I didn't even think about that one. So, sounds like everyone is on board. Those two fights, Huggy thinks Tyron Woodley should be fighting Covington. I think if nothing else, that one should be a fun lead up with as social justice-y as Tyron Woodley is and how brash the character of Colby Covington is. Anybody else have any thoughts on that fight? And woven into that, what does everybody think about the video going around with Covington dropping his act when he was talking to that kid? Does it surprise anyone that actual Colby and Colby on TV are 100% different people? Huggy didn't watch it. I won't necessarily want to say it's worth watching. Like, it's not anything groundbreaking whatsoever. But it does show you that actual Colby Covington is nothing like what he tries to portray himself to be, which I don't necessarily think is news to anyone. It's kind of along that same vein of, Larry the Cable Guy. Like, what the hell is his actual first name? God, now I'm gonna have to look it up. Yeah, Tass, he seems to have opened up a little bit recently about it just being an act. But on the Larry the Cable Guy thing, yeah, so his real name's Daniel. The guy's from Nebraska, I think it was. The growing up in Iowa as the whole redneck comedy tour thing kind of started to pop up. A few people I knew from Nebraska had known that guy for years and years and years. We just happened to be on the topic at one point. And I don't know why it was so shocking, but they were like, yeah, that entire thing is an act. He does not talk like a redneck. He has just your standard Midwest boring accent, which is almost no accent, as just like a normal person. And I think the reason that I'm off on this tangent is on the Pat McAfee show. It was either McAfee or the one he does with AJ Hawk just a day or two ago. They were talking about the same thing. Apparently, I think it was the one with AJ Hawk. So AJ Hawk knew him as well, and apparently he can go in and out of character like at the drop of a hat. So apparently if you're sitting there talking to him, you just have this normal conversation with, Daniel Whitney, the guy from Nebraska, and if a fan walks up, within seconds, he is Larry saying, "Get her done." And it just amazes me how people can, just have this switch. But it seems like that's what Colby has. And has it been effective? I don't know. Like the extra money that he's paid, like Instagram models and strippers to hang around him, and all of the ridiculous things he's done, like it's gotten him coverage. It got him a fan, and the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, knows who he is from it. I guess if nothing else, You know, all press is good press, I guess. Maybe. Let's go ahead and leave it at that. Other MMA news, because it's one of the few things we can spitball and keep going for a while here. Obviously, last week or the beginning of this week, I don't remember exactly where it was, but Dominic Reyes has come out and said that Jon Jones should be stripped of the light heavyweight title. What are you guys thinking about that? Is it time that Jones is stripped? Huggy, no press is bad. No press is bad press, but yeah, that. Ruthie, hello. You have joined the solo OtherGround live because Jay can't get PodBean to work because Cloudflare has been down. And we have a call from Shih Tzu. Shih Tzu, how's it going? Hey, it's the Bubble Show. Thanks for joining. Sounds like you guys don't have many fans. Yes, he should be if he says he's going to sit down. Absolutely. I'm with you. So I think I'm at the same place. If Jones says that he is done, he's going to take however many years off. He's going to whatever. It is absolutely time they vacate that title. With that said, who fights for the title? Cass, what do you think? Huggy, what do you think? You guys seem to be the most knowledgeable fight fans here. Is it a fight when Reyes is ready that he gets the shot? And if he does, who is it against? Santos and Reyes, just make that fight the... does that then become the official lightweight title, or is this one of those stupid interim titles? Like, do we think Jones is going to be gone long enough that absolutely no title? This is for the light heavyweight proper. Cass says make it official. Huggy, I'm assuming you're on the same page. I'm just going to assume that yes. Yep, and there it is. So everybody's on the same page. So we have figured out MMA in the welterweight division. We are going to have a title fight between Usman and Burns. We are going to have, it sounds like, a number one contenders fight with Leon Edwards and Jorge Masvidal. Then we are going to have a next in line fight with Colby Covington and Tyron Woodley. In the light heavyweight division, we are going to strip Jon Jones because he stripped himself. And the next title fight will be Dominic Reyes and Thiago Santos. Yeah, Team Evil would be interim unless they take the belt, but he's already said that he's vacating it. I guess they technically don't even really have to take it from him at this point. I think he's just taking it from himself. So with that fight already on the books, I guess it kind of makes sense. Another one we talked about on the Fight Companion last week, I think as we're rounding out title pictures, who do you guys have next for Petr Yan? Do you have Marlon Moraes, Aljamain Sterling, or Cody Garbrandt? Huggy has Moraes. Cass has Aljo. Huggy has Moraes and Sterling. So are we going to do a three-way fight? Just throw them all in there? Tricky Dave has Garbrandt. Cass thinks they might be trying to set up Cody versus Moraes. Where are you seeing that? Have I missed some headline, or have they been going back and forth? Whichever guy accepts first. There you go. Yeah, I don't necessarily think you can go wrong with Moraes or Sterling. I think either way, it's a pretty smart fight to make. I think there's also just the chance out there that they may end up going Garbrandt. And I'm not saying that he deserves it, but I think from a name perspective, kind of the way that they just shot Aldo up to that fight, that might be a very UFC thing to do. Huggy says offer it to Aljo first, and then if he dicks around at all, go to Moraes. I can see it that way. I can see it flipped around, go to Moraes, and if he dicks around, give it to Sterling. I think either way, yeah, all that makes sense. Tricky Dave thinks that Cody should leave Alpha Male if he wants to be successful. And actually, didn't he just do that? I don't know if he officially left, but he definitely did most of his training outside of Alpha Male. I don't know if it's official. Rumors of it. Why he's starting his own. Yeah, I don't necessarily know if there is anything completely out there. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, he's been out there working with Mark Henry, which, I mean, he looked great. I have friends that fight out of there. They say it's hectic. Well, it's kind of interesting, right? Like, it seemed very much more tight-knit and tightly run when Faber was still active. It seems like, after Faber has kind of retired, obviously he came back and he got the shit kicked out of him by Piotr Jan. But, yeah, it's interesting. The downfall of Alpha Male has kind of been a thing. So you had, obviously, when Dillashaw left, even though, he was EPO'd out his ass, he left. You could see some cracks. You had Faber retire. You had Garbrandt that pretty much fell off the cliff. You even had Cynthia Calvillo. She was like the kind of great woman savior out of Alpha Male. She left. Hell, didn't you used to have Paige Van Zant there? She left. Old boy just got wrecked. He was their up-and-comer just this last week. Which guy was that? Sadly, I don't know everyone that's at Alpha Male, so I'm not even sure who you're talking about, but sounds like somebody that just got the shit kicked out of them. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting rise and fall of a fight camp like that. Kind of like how, for what, it was just a couple years there that the Black Zillions were a thing, and then they just weren't a thing anymore. But it's definitely interesting with Cody Garbrandt coming up with Alpha Male, being all about Alpha Male, taking those couple losses in a row, and then deciding, hey, maybe I should get those hands back together, going out and, hooking up with Mark Henry, and then landing, one of the knockouts of all time in his first fight back. And Slydog, yeah, apparently Passive J cannot figure out technology at all. There have been Cloudflare issues that apparently has taken PodBean down, along with much larger sites, things like Discord. There were some other ones listed. I don't remember what they were, but he can't figure anything out. So this is a very much... What the heck? So I just got a notice that I'm live casting in another browser window. And I should try to, so maybe Passive J is finding his way in at this point and is trying to join us in hold on, I just got a message from him. In progress. Yeah, he still can't figure anything out. So maybe this is why Jay can't speak. He's trying to go through like 3 browser windows at once, answer a Facebook IM, and talk to you guys while watching the chat at the same time, and then cannot figure out a word like progress. That may be it. I had to figure it out. He probably will eventually. We'll see, Sly. He doesn't have that much time. He has 15 minutes before we call this sumbitch after me yapping along for an entire hour live. Goddamn, pal, that's crazy. So what did you see when you were trying it, Sly? Were you just getting the same, like, browser, like 500 errors and shit like that? A lot of people that were on the app or trying the app, Jay being one of them, would log into the PodBean app and it would just show that nothing is live. What? I got booted?
It said that the PodBean site was down. I have no clue how Ryan was able to log in, or the rest of you guys.
Really, motherfucker? You booted me?
That wasn't what I meant to do, dude. I was just trying to get on. It said it was live. So I had no clue what would happen if I tried to log in.
Motherfucker.
So we know.
I was just going live for 45 minutes solo.
Wow, dude, that's gonna suck. Your connection sounds like shit, but it's probably my connection, as we learned at this point. Well, I apologize. I don't know why it happened like that, and I certainly didn't intend to kick you off. Congratulations on doing 40 minutes all by yourself, dude. That's pretty fucking impressive.
Jesus Christ. So as far as the connection goes, can you guys hear me okay? Is it just Jay that's fucked up, or am I now somehow fucked up from having to try to run this and then logging back in? Oh, I sound like the fucking Matrix. Yeah. All right, so give me 1 minute here. I will be back.
All right. Well, honestly, rotting away from the inside, apparently. To the point where, like, here's a good way to explain it. We don't sleep in the same bedroom anymore, and that has nothing to do with me farting. I toss and turn a whole bunch, and I'm hard to sleep with. Plus, I'm uncomfortable with having someone that close to me. I've always slept alone. So the first couple of years that we were married, we slept together. But about a year ago, both of us decided we were sick of that shit. So we have separate bedrooms, and it's gotten so bad sometimes that she will actually close the door and put a towel underneath it. so that she can't smell my farts, which is pretty bad. No sly, do not fart at work. I hold it in the entire time. I can't fart at work. My farts have the amazing ability of making a pretty woman come into my office whenever I fart. I swear, every time it's ever happened, some a hot member has walked up to my office and wanted to speak with me. So I don't fart at work. You never know when someone's going to wander in. How you doing, Ryan? Is it any better?
I don't know. Is it any better?
Yes, it is. You sound normal, or as normal as you get, anyways.
Figures as much, since you were the one that had to go and mess everything up. Everything sounded wonderful. We were going on just fine, talking about things, like crazy Iranian Canadian veterinarians and mixed martial arts. And then you come in and you start talking about farts.
Well, I was actually asked a question. I'm sorry, sir. I've been trying to pay better attention to the chat box recently. So someone asked me how my farts were, and I told them horrible because I'm an honest person. But that's not the point. The point is I really needed to get online and do the show with you for multiple reasons. One, because obviously I don't want the streak to end. And two, more importantly, because I had a special message for you. Happy birthday.
All right, I'm just going to hang up now. All right, peace out.
Come on. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Big Dalton. I can see you're still connected. Don't lie, motherfucker.
Oh, no. I actually did completely close out of PodBean. For some reason, it just hangs there for a while, and I came back about 8 seconds later.
Oh, yeah, sure thing.
You may have a voice for radio, but you do not have the voice to sing ever again in your life.
Oh, come on. That was wonderful. Everyone said that it was wonderful. You're the only non-believer here. So did you have a good birthday, man?
I was working all day, so I had a very normal day.
Right on. I can understand that. So is it okay if I disclose how old you are now?
How old? I'm 37. Yeah, 37.
In a row. So you're the magical Kevin Smith age right now, if you understand the reference.
No, I don't.
Oh, well, for anyone who's a true Kevin Smith fan, whenever they hear the number 37, they have to repeat in a row. You ever seen Clerks?
Yes, but apparently it didn't impact me as much as it did impact your life, Jay.
Okay, well, here's the deal. The main character was...
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I would have never, just remembered that.
My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks in a row? Yeah, it's like a Kevin Smith fandom thing. So, do you feel any older? I mean, that's a silly question, obviously, but actually, no, I do. I have a non-silly question. How's your back doing? Do you feel any better?
My back's pretty much still fucked. Like, a lot of the other stuff feels better, from having some idiot run into me.
All right.
But yeah, my spine's still not in a good place.
Do you think it was made worse from the idiot running into you, or you think this is all just from the original muscle tweak while you're working out?
No, I got hit by a car, Jay.
Oh, I know. That's why it was a question instead of a statement, sir. So yeah, that does suck, man. Because you were just starting to get over it.
Yeah. So for Sly, apparently, who didn't actually hear about it. So really, all it was is I was taking a left turn. I had a left-handed lane with its own green. Made the turn. There were actually other lanes of vehicles stopped. There was one lane that didn't have anybody in it, and a person just blew right through a red light, ran into not exactly like the back part of my truck, but probably, like, if you think about it, the right part of their car would have been, roughly kind of even with the back tire. So kind of between the center and back half of the truck, pretty much destroyed their, piece of shit. I think it was like a BMW or a Lexus or something. It was some kid that came for money, was probably on a cell phone, smashed into me. The one thing that was concerning was I had just this numb feeling in my arms. Like I could still move my arms, but I couldn't feel my arms. So I was a little bit worried to start out with. Because of that, ended up having to go to the hospital for the evening. Got up the next day, came back and did a goddamn podcast.
Goddamn right. Yeah. Now, I'm speaking of having arguments with my wife, because we were talking about that while you were gone. She does not think I'm going to be doing the podcast during my vacation next month when we go up to Port Austin. She is incorrect. I already told her. I was like, no, I'll be doing the show. No, you're not going to be doing the show. We're going to be too busy shagging. I'm like, well, we don't need to do that the entire 2 days. But apparently that's her plan. But my plan is to do a show while I'm on the road. I'll be doing it off my phone, so it won't have the same quality as our normal studio shows. And I assume you might want to host it since if I'm not doing it, you might as well, right?
Well, yeah, since I had to go and fucking host the goddamn thing today.
All right, there you go. Yeah, you just discovered how little you actually need me for this show.
Well, I figured that out last week with the stupid fight companion.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I don't really add a lot to the show except for comedic value. Luckily, I'm good at that part. So we got like 10 minutes. You got any topics you want to cover, or did you already cover all your shit? You want me to pull out one of my stupid shit topics?
I covered most of it, but there is one that's kind of concerning. Like, why do you live in such a shithole, Jay?
I don't live in a shithole. I live in one of the best states in the country.
Really? So why did they just come out with a list of 35 cops that have been deemed untrustworthy to testify in court in Wayne County?
I think that's more of a political thing. There's something going on between the prosecutor and like the police department. The prosecutor is kind of suspect as well. I used to think she was good. She went after a whole bunch of people, but lately it sounds like it's more of a political thing than anything else. My question is, if you have cops that you can't trust to testify, why are they still fucking cops?
I don't know, but they listed all of the cops and the reasons. And yeah, it sounds like you have kind of a corrupt police force there, Jay.
I don't know about that. I have a lot of respect for the police chief. He's a good guy from everything I understand. Obviously, I can't speak for the entire police department. What were some of these reasons? I might ask. I didn't really look into it too much.
Yeah, let's just go through some of these: dishonesty and false statements, fraudulent activity, theft and dishonesty, embezzlement, misconduct in office, fraudulent activity, obstruction of justice, larceny, bribery, retail fraud, untruthfulness, federal conviction, more larceny, more federal convictions. Yeah, so this isn't like, yeah, this is just kind of a shitty person. Like, these are pretty fucked up people, all 35 of them.
Well, some of those, yeah, I would obviously have to agree. Although I'd be interested in what some of like the larceny charges and federal charges are and things like that. But some of that stuff sounds more like opinion, untruthfulness. What does that mean? Does that mean she didn't believe what their testimony in a thing, or does it mean she can prove that they lied? Because that's two different things. One's an opinion and one's a fact, obviously. So I'd be interested in exactly what she means, or what those designations mean, rather, in some of those cases.
So these are actual offenses. So this is like provable that they've made false statements.
Well, that's not true. I'm not sure. Let me rephrase that. I don't think that's true. That doesn't sound like a list of offenses. Sounds like a list that the prosecutor put out, as opposed to like actual like things that they see. I'm speaking without knowing the facts, and I hate doing that.
So the facts, Jay. The list is a compilation of officers who have committed offenses, including theft, dishonesty, fraud, false statements, bias, or bribery. Some have been fired. Others are still on the job.
Right. Well, that's an interesting thing because let me see. I'm trying to find. I'm looking. I want to read the article before I argue too much of it, because right now I'm mostly just doing.
You're just talking out your ass.
Devil's advocate stuff. Just disagreeing with you to just have something to talk about. I never for false statements for 3 or for untruthfulness 3. See, I just because it sounds some of these are false statements. Okay, obviously that's probably a real thing where they made a statement that was proven untrue. But untruthfulness, that just sounds like a weird thing. I don't know. I'd be interested to like do a lot more research on it because it sounds like a weird situation. Um, but yeah, that's Detroit. That's not Michigan. You have to remember that's two entirely different things. Detroit, yeah, it's kind of a shithole. It's trying to make a comeback, but it's got a long way to go. Michigan as a state is fucking awesome. There's so many good things about Michigan that that you can totally discount Detroit. Really,
You can't really ever just discount the absolute largest city in a state.
I'm not even sure if it's the largest city in the state. Well, I guess it is. Yeah. But not by much. You got to remember, Detroit's fallen in population quite a bit. I believe right now they only have about 700,000 people in there, which makes for a very weird city, by the way, because Detroit at its peak had more than 2 million people in it, and it's a city set up for 2 million people. So there are large parts of Detroit that like are fucking empty. Um, Most of our highway systems don't have much of a problem with traffic because it's designed for way more people that we have. Now, the downside of this is there's an infrastructure and all that goes along with 2 million people and only 700,000 people to pay for it. And most of them, are not, are barely at middle class or below that. So, which explains why Detroit often has money problems. But it makes for a weird place to live in sometimes. And I don't even live in Detroit anymore. I live in the burbs, which is where everyone moved to. But I haven't gone to Detroit before. I can tell you that, it's just odd. It's like halfway a ghost town.
So we'll continue with the fact that that's kind of a shithole. The other kind of interesting story from the day, well, a couple things. I think number one, the big thing was this whole flare failure. It caused you to be 45 minutes late to your own show, but also knocked out things like Discord. And there were some other relatively high-profile sites. So obviously you were one of the people impacted. Apparently, I guess I'm on one of the servers that was up much sooner, and so were a lot of the people here. But how has that impacted your life there, Jay?
Oh, dude, I'll be honest with you. It sucked. For at first, I thought I'd fuck something up because actually, at first I thought the PodBean was just down. Then you just started talking to me about how you were on. I'm like, what the fuck? And so I was wondering if I did something wrong. It showed everything on their side, because it showed right when I looking at it that the Cloudflare issue, yada yada yada, the PodBean site was down. But then I went to isitdown.com and it said PodBean was just fine. So it was very frustrating. The last thing I wanted to do was miss the show. I was having a bad day and I wanted to vent anyway, so it just made it worse. I Oh, yeah. Oh, you had the same problem, Sly. It's good to know. But it makes me feel a little bit better to know that it wasn't just me. I rebooted my computer. I'm trying to fuck around with it. I'm trying to log in on my phone, and it's not working either. I'm like, there's no way that's me. There's no way that both my phone and my computer is giving me issues. And I'd just been on that long ago to share the show links and all that good shit. So it was frustrating in the extreme.
So I think before we wrap up, there's one other story I wanted to get to, just because this one is actually, this is some relatively intelligent, like, criminal shit. But did you hear about this couple in Texas, a couple of Army veterans that defrauded the military out of like $11 million or so?
Oh my, how did they do that?
So what they did, and I think it actually started when they were both still serving, but what they did is the husband started up this small van company that gave rides to those that were enlisted, like to and from bases. And as part of that, there is a like reimbursement from the government to those people for doing like ride sharing or carpooling or anything like that. So that actually ends up getting paid to these transportation companies. Well, where they got all of this extra money is, it sounds like the wife was part of the HR system for the Army. So what they did is they got, tens of thousands of people that were serving, all of their information, and signed them all up for this like subsidization program. And signed them all up saying that they were all taking this tiny little van service to and from, I think it was Fort Hood. And like half of these people like were nowhere near that part of the country. And apparently they were making in upwards of $200,000 a month from these subsidies.
Wow. That's actually fairly smart, because I imagine it took a while for the military to figure out what was going on there.
Yeah, it wasn't until someone noticed that like there were all these subsidies. Obviously, they knew, you know, that was a thing. But until they saw that they were all so focused in this small area, and many of those folks from the Army, again, weren't stationed anywhere near Fort Hood. So obviously it made no sense.
Well, oh, sorry. Oh, God, long day. Yeah, that's, I mean, and that's just stupid. Anything like that is going to get you caught eventually. The only question is how long. Some people get away with that shit for 5 or 10 years until the accounting catches up with them, but it's going to, for the most part.
Right, yeah, and this did. And apparently, kind of depending on where folks are stationed, it generally runs, the subsidy itself is around like $250, $260 a month. So just think how many people they had signed up where they were making $200,000 a month.
Well, about 1,000. That's easy math, isn't it?
A little bit short of that, obviously, but
right. But still, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Man, people will do anything for, you know, to try to get one over on people. It's pretty amazing. That's why I don't listen to any phone calls anymore. There's always someone on the phone trying to sell you something, try to trick you into something. The world is just a place where you can't trust people anymore, really.
it depends on who your circle is. But yes, like random phone calls and shit like that. Yeah, I don't do that anymore either.
Yeah, which, you know, to me feels kind of hypocritical, because I used to be the guy on the other end of that phone call. But that's another reason why I don't answer them, because I know how that shit works. That's one of the banes of my existence at my work. I don't get it as much as I used to, because the rules have changed so much for what they're allowed to do. But I still get quite a few telemarketing calls every day at my work that I have to answer and then go, oh, fuck this. There was one today. I don't even know what it was. But the thing is, they're trying to get so tricky. So I pick it up, and the first thing is a recorded voice saying, do not hang up this phone. Do not hang up from this call, or some shit like that. This is that. I'm like, okay, hang up. If the first thing you tell me to do is not hang up, I know I should probably hang up on you.
Yeah, I'm with you. One other thing, did you see this story? There was a former Miss Kentucky that is going to prison for sending nude pictures to a 15-year-old.
Oh, goddamn, really?
Yeah. So apparently she worked as a teacher in some West Virginia school. And of course she had, you know, the absolute most intelligent defense ever, saying, you know, that, well, she initially just sent not necessarily a nude picture, but kind of just a lewd picture that she thought she was sending to her husband. Instead sent to this 15-year-old. Of course, the question remains, why do you either have a 15-year-old's phone number or a 15-year-old Snapchat?
Yeah.
Like, how do you make that mistake? Like, you shouldn't have that, you know, contact information to begin with.
I'm gonna Sly Dog's calling. I'm gonna hop him on here before we get out of here. What's going on, boss? How you doing, Sly?
Hey, if you want to end the show, I can call another time.
We got a couple minutes, man. We're already running over, but fuck it, dude. What do you want to talk about?
Well, Jay's not running over.
I have a question for this eclectic group of people here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys tell me what the fuck is up with West Virginia?
You mean in general, or is there some specific thing going on?
Sometimes I think I know more than most people do, and I really shouldn't. But what is that state different than the rest of them? Everything, the people, the culture, the whatever you want to call it.
I don't know. I've never really been to West Virginia myself. Is this where this story's out of, Brian? I missed the start of that.
Yeah, so she was a teacher in West Virginia after being a former Miss Kentucky.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know, Sly. I've never been there. I mean, it's one of the southern states, which means they're suspect in the first place. But I've don't never heard anything specifically about West Virginia being crazy, crazy compared to any of the other states. That's always Florida that you hear.
Well, yeah, that's the reason you don't hear about West Virginia is because Florida is a thing.
Right.
They still have dry counties with no internet in West Virginia.
Really?
Well,
God.
I suppose if, John Denver writes a song about you, it's a curse.
I have a dirty secret. I kind of like John Denver. I don't know why. I think it's because I was introduced to him as a child on the Muppet Show. But I've always kind of liked some of his goofy songs.
Yeah, but you're also the guy that says that Nickelback's not all that bad.
I never said that. I said they don't deserve all the hate that they get, that they're no worse than a billion other radio bands. Yeah, but I'm certainly not a fan. Jeez, don't do that to me.
You also said Alice in Chains was terrible.
I never said that, you motherfuckers. Don't put words in my mouth. I said they weren't the right band to open for Slayer, which is a perfectly valid comment.
I don't know. It sounds like your music taste is a little suspect there, Mr. J.
Oh, we're fucking done with this show. You got anything to say, Sly, before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. That's all. Thanks, guys. Have a good
No
one.
problem.
Thanks, Sly.
Thanks for calling, Sly. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and let my musical taste be disparaged like that. I know about Man in a Box just like everybody else, which is, by the way, what they opened with. And holy shit, was that not appropriate? People were throwing like pieces of sod at them and shit like that. It was a bad time to be Alice in Chains at that time. But they're seriously the other people in the on the show were Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. There's nothing wrong with Alice in Chains, but that's not who you have open for those bands. You certainly don't have Alice in Chains open for those bands when they hadn't hit yet. No one had ever fucking heard of them. It would be different if it was a couple years later, when they were well known and everyone liked them. Then yeah, put them on the show with those guys. But being a completely different type of music that no one had ever heard of, they were doomed from the fucking start.
Yeah, now you're just trying to make excuses after saying that Alice in Chains was terrible.
Oh, fuck this. I'm done with this show. Now I regret even logging back in. I want to thank the OG Army for showing up. I apologize, guys. It turns out it wasn't my fault, but I still feel fucking horrible about it. I only did like 20, 25 minutes at best. That's like whacking off and not getting your nut. It's unsatisfying. I want to thank Dalton for doing almost the entire show. Apparently, remember how I said that I couldn't do the show without him, but he could do it without me? Well, it's been fucking proven. You got anything, Dalton?
As always, I got a couple things. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to tune in tomorrow where I might just not show up for the first 45 minutes. But after Jay goes to bed at 7:08, we will be having a fight companion. I already have my bottle of whiskey, so shit's gonna get weird.
What else you got, sir?
Really the only other thing I have, and I will send this out to everyone that is observing the great birthday of one of the most influential people of all time, David Hasselhoff. Fuck. Oh, y'all.
Everybody have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 6. Hopefully. Bye-bye.
Screw you, hippie!